So you can, so if you go, it'll still, as long as it doesn't block. That's why I put him way in here.
Certain things.
Is that okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I could turn off my camera.
If it does, you can just go like this, move them down here. We don't
Get
really
rid of
need
me.
to see them. Let's go like that. Like so, I'll try to get him as far in the corner there, but if for some reason it blocks it, just.
What if I turn off my camera? Is that better?
Yeah, that's fine.
All right.
Technology. So we'll get started in about maybe 10 minutes. So other people are still supposed to come. And then we'll get started with Nikola's presentation. So please feel free to mingle and talk with each other. Our two main objectives for our meetup. Number one is really education in real estate investing, either in the US, Korea, or abroad. This year we are focusing on investing in Korea. And that's why we have this presentation here with Nikola. But the number two thing we would like to push is just networking, giving an opportunity to talk with each other. One of the reasons I've been in Korea so long is because I've been able to meet so many interesting people from all over the world, and we're able to share our ideas and help each other. So please feel free to introduce each other, yourself to other people, and you never know what can happen in the future. So 5 or 10 minutes, we'll get started. And make sure to get your coffee over here before we get started. If you like that.
Well, you know what? It's nice to meet you tigers.
What's the name on the thing? I've never been in there before. Well, yeah, something kind of ironic. Just yesterday, I got a phone call from my landlord. Apparently, he's decided that they want to reclaim my apartment unit, so I've got 2 months to move out. So I'm 2 months. He was like 2 months, whatever. So.
It's going to change the building or
Oh yeah.
remove it.
Well, basically, I live in almost their attic, so they wanted to just like reincorporate that so it's part of their home again. Yeah. It's actually pretty good. Considering they're good landlords. Yeah, I'm hoping to stay around until November, so you know, not go far.
But your housing contract.
I did, and it expires this month. So I would have just naturally stayed longer, but yeah, I can move out. I don't really mind that much.
It's possible I might have seen it. Like, is the normal Christmas?
Yep. That's a good idea to
But it was walking in trees, the size of you can carry them at the same time. 0.1. Wow. Carry It's a house, building, and the yard. Oh. Yeah. Right, yeah, that's what I mean. Like, so what do you guys do? First. Sorry, everyone.
Dan, are you still on?
Yeah, I'm there. What,
Okay. We'll get started in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, no problem.
Okay.
Have you started the Periscope broadcast?
Yeah, I just started that. So see if that works. Can you check?
Yeah, I'm gonna check right now. It should have tweeted out on our tweet thing. Okay, you did it. Great.
Okay.
Perfect. Let me see. Let's see. Copy link.
Okay, at least got published information out there. So that's like, yeah, we're planning a improv comedy /dinner/Jason fundraiser. We're in detail now. Like, we can put the content out there, just thinking about
Sure, sounds good. I like to put it in events.
plan your schedule. Alright, next week is, we took one just now.
I know, I'm going to right now. Yeah, I know you know. 6 weeks for all different.
Yeah, sure. I'm not. This is the first meeting. Just started.
Hey Dan, can you hear me?
Yeah, the broadcast is going live. It's pretty cool.
Does it look okay?
Yeah, it looks great. You can watch it on a computer screen. It's no
All right.
problem.
So we're gonna get started here.
Yeah, let's do it.
I'm still gonna introduce you a little bit, just say a few
Sure.
words, and then we'll turn it over to Nikola. Okay?
Alrighty.
Okay. All right, guys. Sorry, I know this is a great song and everyone talking to each other. But we do have a little bit of limited time today. You will have an opportunity to talk with each other a little bit more during the break time, and then also after we finish this seminar. A lot of people usually end up going to get coffee together at the end. So if you have time later, that's another way of just meeting each other and sharing some more information at that time. So let's get started with our meeting today. My name, I think some of you guys know, is Ben Hauser. I was born in Korea, but then when I was younger, at the age of 7, I moved to Rochester, New York. And I studied there, worked at an elevator company, came back to Korea. It's been 10 years since I've been back, but I've always been interested in investing in real estate. And last year, I was able to purchase my first single-family residential in Jacksonville, Florida, with a couple of partners without ever going to Florida, without ever looking at the house. But we have a renter in there, we fixed it up, and we're cash flowing pretty well right now. And because of this whole real estate investing journey, I've met Dan, who I'll introduce you to him in a few seconds, as well as a couple other partners. And we decided to, well, long story short, we've been around for about a year and a half, this meetup in particular. The first meetup was me, Dan, and one other guy, John. We just met in a coffee shop. We met on biggerpockets.com. I don't know if you guys know about that, but that's a real great resource for you. And then over time, we just met more people, started growing it, and we decided to make it a little bit more official. And you see today, we have a lot of people here. So we hope to continue these meetups in the future, and keep getting your feedback, and then keep trying to bring on presenters or speakers to help you to learn as much as possible. That was kind of a long introduction, but anyways, I want to, actually before I turn it over to Dan, let's give a round of applause to Jean-Luc, who's in the back here. Jean-Luc. Jean-Luc joined us fairly recently and is one of the lead organizers or coordinators of this group, and he revamped our website. I'm sure he's been responding to a lot of your messages. I think Jean-Luc will give a little bit more information towards the end of this meeting about the website updates, as well as a few other things. But Jean-Luc, thanks again for everything you've done, bringing all these people here, and Nikola as well. So after an introduction by Dan, Nikola is going to come up and give his presentation on urban development. We'll have a break, and then back to urban development, and then a quick break, and then Jeff, if you can stand up. I think some of you guys know Jeff. He's a real estate agent here who speaks both English and Korean, and we'll have a Q&A about any real estate type of questions you may have for him today. Okay? So without further ado, let me turn it to Dan. Dan, would you like to say a few words to our group?
Sure. Greetings, everyone, from sunny Southern California. It was 90 degrees about 3 days ago. It's the middle of our harsh winters out here in Southern California. It's weird. I'm getting a little bit of an echo here.
Sorry.
Yeah, I'm originally from Southern California. I grew up out here, and then I lived in Korea for about 17 years. As Ben mentioned, we started this meetup last year. Just a few of us got together, and we wanted to talk about real estate and network and do all that. So we started bringing people together in this format. I'm hearing myself like 3 seconds after I talk. I'm trying to close the window. It's not working. All right.
Wonderful.
No, okay, I got it. I had to just close the window. So anyways, it's great to see everyone, and I think we're going to have a wonderful presentation today. One thing that we realized as investors when we first started investing, the most important thing that we need to do is we need to find out about what the area is like. Because when you're buying a real estate piece of property, you're investing in a neighborhood, you're investing in an area. And in order to understand that area, you have to know what the story is. What's the story behind the neighborhood? As Ben mentioned, we invested in Jacksonville, Florida. And the reason why we invested was not because the house was cheap, which it was, but it was because of the story that we had discovered around this neighborhood. This neighborhood had showed signs that it was sort of becoming revitalized, and the area right next to it had already become revitalized. It was 10 minutes from downtown, so that meant that it would always be 10 minutes from downtown. There's no way that that would ever change. And so when we started to piece together the story, we thought, all right, the story here is that the development that had happened next to it is coming in our direction. It's moving out to the west. And so we made an educated guess, a calculated gamble based on that. We purchased a single-family home. And what we discovered is within a year, within 6 months actually, we'd already found a lot of appreciation in the property prices around there. So because of what we were able to find out about the area, because of understanding what the story was of what was happening in that area, we were able to make a very smart purchase. And that's one of the reasons why I'm really excited to hear from Nikola, because I think that what he's going to talk about today, the urban development, where things are going, where transportation is, where all these things are being built, these are the key points of being a really smart real estate investor. If you can figure out, if you get into the right location, the right area, the area that's positioned to churn, then you'll be able to minimize your risk when you decide to actually make your investment. So I'm super excited that I'm able to join this meetup. It's good to see all those faces out there. Ben, I think that's enough from me. We could go ahead and turn it over to Nikola.
I don't know if you guys seen our website, but a lot of the articles that are written are by Dan. We also have a lot of valuable resources for you guys in terms of analysis on deals, as well as past presentations where speakers gave presentations. That's all available on our website. Before I turn it over to Nikola, just to let you guys know, we are doing a Periscope broadcast, so if you don't want your faces seen, just don't look over where my camera is over there, okay? I'm sorry to do it, but we have a lot of people who couldn't join today, but asked us to share this video so they can look at it later. And also, when Nikola is presenting, if you guys can just hold on to your questions until the break time, and then once he finishes, he would definitely appreciate that. So without a further ado, let's give a large, loud round of applause for Nikola Medimorec at Urban Developments. Come on up. I'm going to move this over here, and then... Okay, Nikola.
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Thank you very much for inviting me and giving me this opportunity to talk to you about one of my most favorite topics, like urban development, transport, and urbanism in Korea, and especially with the focus on Seoul. I have a background in urban geography. I studied my undergrad in Germany, and I've done my master's here in urban geography at Seoul National University. I live in Seoul since 2012. I know Korea since 2008, and I follow a lot of like news and things from development. But
Hey, Dan, could you mute yourself?
Oh, sorry. Sorry about that. I thought I did.
But the reason why I'm here to talk to you today is because I'm the co-author of the website called Kojects. I don't know if some of you know this website, but to introduce it to you, it's a website about transport and urban development in Korea. It was created by my friend Andy Tibey. He's now back in New Zealand, but going to come soon to Korea again. I joined him in 2013, also after I got to know him through this project, through the website, and then together we write on certain topics. I will show you the website just for a second, because we have several features and several so that's kojects.com. Here you can see the articles that we always publish regularly, once, twice, up to 3 times a month. So about, for example, like the Shimbundang line extension, or about, what's the next topic? The Pangyo tram that's going to be built soon, and so on. And then up here we have even a database. So we try to keep track of any kind of new openings. For example, that's now the Suin line, the line from Songdo to Suwon. It's going to extend soon. Songnam, it's like a lot of the transport-related things. But also we blog about other large-scale developments like Songdo, Sejong City, and so on. We have a forum. And then also on the main page, we have a left toolbar a left sidebar with information about, like general information about traveling in Korean cities, like subway maps. And so we explain like, and then how it what time it operates, like some tourist information. Also intercity travel. I'm very proud that we actually also have a long distance cycling page about the Four River project and how cycling along the rivers works. And up to even some content about studying in Korea. Whoever wants to study urban planning, transportation, we also provide a list of universities and majors. So back to presentation. And so the features. We publish our articles, or we share them on Facebook. So if you follow us on Facebook, you always find our newest articles. On Twitter, we share almost daily any kind of news articles that we come across about urban development. YouTube, we even have some videos and videos about, I don't know, like trains or some other areas, places in Seoul, in Korea. And we are very inactive on Google+, but we try to improve it in the future. So the topics, just short brief look about the topics. National rail projects, like any kind of KTX. There's so many more KTX lines or normal train lines going to open soon or in the next 5 years. So we try to blog about them. We write about urban rail projects, like any metro, subway, and so on. And for example, this picture up here, it shows the PRT project. It's down on the south coast of Korea, a personal rapid transit, where self-driving rail-based vehicles can get you from point A to point B. Also something that Korea is like pursuing this kind of technology. Urban development, like I mentioned, Sejong City, Songdo, but also the Seoul Station overpass that's going to be transformed into a public space. And then my most favorite topic and some of my expertise, I would say, so like sustainable transportation, walking, cycling, anything that's improves the living quality in cities. So you might wonder, where do we get all this information for our articles and where even you can get for your research information? So I thought it's important to share it. First of all, media. Korea Times, Korea Herald, Journal Daily as the English language Korean news sites. But then also both of us, Andy and I, we are fluent in Korean, so we use Korean newspapers also a lot to find or to keep up to date with all kinds of developments. And then Andy and I also, we used to work for the Korea Transport Institute. It's the biggest think tank on transport in Korea. So there we learned that they actually like official plans, the government and cities, they publish or like upload all their plans onto the internet on their official websites, and everybody can access it without any problems. So we use them also for articles. We go to events, any kind of like sustainable transport or urban development related events, as long as our work allows it, because it's more like a hobby project still, and but it takes a lot of time to work on Kojects and keep on track with everything. And of course, a lot of Korean experts on this topic, and we follow them on Facebook, on Twitter, on many different ways, or even send them emails or try to interact with them. And sometimes, because we have quite a big readership, we receive direct information. So our readers, they maybe report about certain projects in the neighborhood, send us pictures or post them into the forum, post them some email. So that's also like how we keep up and write our articles. So now let's get to the actual topic, Seoul's development. First, to understand Seoul and everything, it's really important to take a look at the history and how it developed until now. So it's maybe really difficult to imagine, but somehow Seoul has a history of 600 years, and for, let's say, 500 of these 600 years, everything happened within this area here. So these four walls, like from Sodaemun to Dongdaemun, up to Sungdaemun to Gyeongbukgung. Was not until like when the Japanese occupation, until the beginning of the 20th century, then Seoul opened up and began to expand. So while we have very constant, you can see numbers of population, and then after, with this Japanese occupation and the colonial period, the urban development in Korea began, and Seoul entered somehow the modern times of urbanism. So we hit like 1 million people by 1940 or 1942, and then the Korean War took their toll, and we had a huge decrease of population. But it was, and then here also you can see some smaller expansions, but still everything is focused on the northern side of the Han River. Then, now here you can see again, in the 1970s it was that Seoul began to build bridges and to expand the administrative area up to Gangnam, and then to even open up the subway. Subway system wasn't here until 1974, and then to have like this huge kind of Seoul that we know today. There have been then just some restructuring, more districts were included to have better organization of the city, and in the population you can still see how it grew until more or less 1992, where it was at the top, like almost 11 million people. And then there was a decrease in population, mainly because of the new towns and the satellite towns. It says here actually the first generation of new towns opened, and slowly people moved out of Seoul and moved into the Bundang, Ilsan, and now into even the second or third generation of new towns. So there's like this really basic urban context where then we have very certain, you could say, almost struggle between the Gangbuk area and the Gangnam area, because Gangbuk was, as I showed before, developed first, then Gangnam came later with more like the modern Seoul, contrary to the traditional Seoul that you have here in Gangbuk. There are many distinctions between these areas, like cultural, social, and even like economical differences, but I want to focus on the urban aspects, and there you will have in Gangbuk more some kind of side alleys, smaller streets, more like, it's called in urbanism like an organic street network, which is actually very pedestrian friendly, but whereas in Gangnam you have this planned development, so you have like these huge blocks. They're very artificial, and it's very, because it was built in the 70s when they were thinking about cars. That cars are the greatest method to move throughout the city, so they try to make it like car rented. And for real estate, it actually means areas like north of the river are very, they have somehow like a soul, or they have like this spirit. But it's actually very interesting for gentrification. Like you have these small neighborhoods, some of the small, beautiful side alleys that have a lot of potential for now modern times, for development and for urbanism. And we can see it in Daeglo, is highly gentrified. Haebangchon is maybe now also, somehow yes. Hongdae Shincheon is now in a huge struggle. They try to prevent as much as possible. Also, there are some policies, but we also see a lot more gentrification on the northern side. While on the southern side, it's different somewhat. We don't have this kind of, beautiful small. Of course, in many beautiful areas, you have Karlsruhe and Yeouido is also beautiful, and many Gangnam is also in some way beautiful. But it's different. It's only like high development, very high and expensive real estate, and I wrote now here more apartments, but that's also not actually true anymore because these days there's so much development also going on in Gangbuk, so many new apartments here, so it's getting more complicated somewhat in terms of the urban context. So to support this previous argument, here's the difference. You can see the street grid, like the urban fabric of Gangnam, is very block-wise, very large, is huge lots. They offer a lot of space for redevelopment. That's why you have like Lotte Tower, Lotte World Tower, now the new Hyundai skyscraper, and other things. Right in the north, the northern part here, Jongdo or in Hongdae, you have like the small organic streets. But still, it doesn't mean there's no TDP. Dongdaemun Design Plaza is also here on the northern side. The Yongsan Dream Hub that was supposed to be built was also here on the northern side. But the potential is higher in the southern side for this kind of huge developments. Then, a very important aspect is housing. I think you're very well aware that Korea's society is changing very drastically and very fast. So from this big families that are living together, now there are more single apartments through the aging society, through work, the people are studying, the people come to live here alone, to go to university or other reasons. So you have a lot of rise of single apartments. And then the housing type. Korea is known as the apartment republic. It's like for Westerners, or especially from Europe, apartments don't have a good image. So I was very surprised coming here and seeing like this, how this many apartments, and especially in the last years, now it dominates. It's the vast majority, like this only for Seoul, is now apartments at 59, almost 60%. And then what's actually really like one of the most important questions is there enough housing? So is there? There wasn't for a long time. If you look at this graph, I hope you can see it. Also, we will share the slides with everyone so you can look at that later in detail. There was almost like before the Korean War, there was enough housing the whole time, but then the Korean War destroyed the city completely, and then afterwards we had so much influx of people that we at Seoul had not enough housing for a long time, until actually now. Now we are really at a record high of 98%. So we have a huge housing supply. But then, supply, demand, these basic things. So you would say, okay, we should then stop constructing new buildings, new housing. But here then the question is the supply, or is the quality of the supply, is it okay? Is it enough? Is it satisfying? And there, I don't know, that's something you have to ask and to look in your neighborhoods. If the new apartment projects are really needed, or if you should really maybe invest into one of these new apartments and find some tenants. So, and then business spaces. Seoul has three main business districts. It's here, of course, the CBD. Then we have Gangnam and Yeouido as the other two ones. And there was just very recent an article that there's a lot of vacancy, a lot of empty office space actually. And I don't know, in average it's around 12 to 13%. And you can see here the difference between the three areas. Currently the CBD, actually relatively high vacancy rate, but now that's very popular again. Many companies who began to have offices in Yeouido now moving back to the CBD because they enjoy the CBD much more and they prefer to be here. And then, for example, like Kyoto, you have this huge increase, even like 25% of the office space was empty in Kyoto at a certain time 3 years ago. And maybe if you're wondering why, that's the opening of the IFC. As soon as a new building opens up, new office building, they might often empty at first and find tenants afterwards. So it still actually takes them a lot of time and more effort. The IFC is still very empty to get more people in. And then the backbone of Seoul is public transport. And here, it's just, for the first time when I came to Korea, it was the most impressive thing to see this huge subway network and very efficient, clean, cheap in some ways. And in the end, it was also very easy to orientate and to use. But in this, I think this map, you're all familiar with this map. It's very complex, but because you see it very often, you're used to it. But let's take a look at another perspective. That's now only for Seoul. So you see a lot of focus is put on the CBD, on this area north of the river. Actually, this was first developed, so first a lot of plans or a lot of subway lines had to go through there. The southern area has more gaps in it, but also actually really high number of stations and lines. But then, my presentation only focuses on Seoul, but especially for the metro system, you have to look outside of Seoul, and then you actually see how impressive it is, like how the huge area it covers. Especially like line number 1, you can see just down here, it's not possible to show until where it goes, like until all down to Cheonan and more. So it covers half of Korea, and even here, it's impossible to show where it goes then further up to the northeast or the other lines where they go, huge areas they stretch and go to. So it's really, everybody, sees Seoul subway system as the best example, as one of the best practices. But even here, I see one problem that compared to other big cities in other parts of the world, the system is very one-dimensional. You have, and one-dimensional I mean, for example, except for line number 1, line number 4, and line number 9, there are no express trains. All trains operate more or less on a certain or similar speed, and they stop at many stations. But actually, other capitals around the world, they have, besides this kind of subway system, they have a commuter rail system, or like express rail system that connects other areas and also through Seoul and through the capital and the whole region around the capital. So that's still missing in Seoul, but of course, Korea is aware of this problem, and I will show you a little bit later a solution to this issue. And then it's impossible to do a presentation about urban development in Seoul without talking about the Cheonggyecheon, the urban stream right a couple of meters up there. Lee Myung-bak, how he removed this elevated freeway and then created the best public space of Seoul in 2004. Actually, what I want to focus is on this package. It was the Cheonggyecheon was introduced together with the bus reform in 2004, and that's why we have now this blue, green, red, and yellow buses. Why we have this integrated fare system that we can transfer for free between buses and subway or between different lines, different numbers. And that's also the reason why we have this great system of medium bus lanes. Seoul also calls it BRT system. Like BRT stands for bus rapid transit, because it's faster than a normal public bus system, less congested and less less obstacles that buses have to stop at. But sadly also, already in 2004, they had actually a plan to develop this really impressive big network of connected bus-only lanes. But if you look at the map, only really small part was established. So like these blue ones are the ones existing, and then the light blue ones are still like you see in this legend planned. So they don't have a year when it's going to be opened, and even this yellow and red ones are really like just small parts that have been added, but actually to have a very completely functional BRT system. This network has to be completely connected, which is not the case, especially not in Gangnam. Otherwise, would be not only the subway system, then also would be these median bus lanes, a very important criteria for any kind of like choice of housing, choice of where you want to work or where you want your office to be. So actually that's the end of the first part. We're going to have 5-minute coffee break, but first of all I will take 1 or 2 questions regarding now the history and what you've heard until now. And then the general questions about urban development we will answer at the end of the presentation, and because maybe I will show you some more of the content for the future and things. So are there some questions about the history? Okay, John.
Actually, this is more a question about your own history. Didn't you live in Suwon until very recently?
I still live in Suwon, yes.
Okay. So then my question is, how is it improving to get from Suwon to Seoul in the time you've known?
That's.
And I don't know what part of Suwon you live in, so.
Yes. So I used the most recent English map for this presentation, but actually now I live, because here's the Shimbundang line, and that's now extended further. Like the Shimbundang line would then go here. I think even more extensions are missing here.
Yeah.
The Bundang line is here. Okay, but still, so just in the last 2 months, with the opening of the Shimbundang extension, the quality of getting to Seoul improved a lot. Like it got faster to come here and cheaper, slightly cheaper. No, slightly more expensive actually. I think something. The bus is a little bit cheaper. It's still cheaper. So, but still, so this kind of the extensions are reaching more out throughout new areas and connecting to more.
And it's giving you access to different parts of Seoul too, like less having to go through Shindorin if you're taking the subway, and more to Gangnam.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. That's the thing. Like also like before, of course, there were buses going to Gangnam, but the subway is more precise. It will take 37 minutes. So it improves quality a lot and opens up new access. It's like that's the purpose of subway systems or public transport. Any new line should actually increase the accessibility and allow you to access more services, go to more places, and so on.
Nikola, I have a question.
Yeah.
So all these subway lines, are they government owned, or are there any private companies that own any of these lines, or in the future, in the state, government owned?
So let's say first of all, the Seoul subway system is owned by Seoul and by the government more or less. Split into 2 companies. Then you have line number 9. It was actually a private company, but then Seoul bought it off, so it's again public. And then the other line, that's a private line, and they are, I think is it a map? Where's can't see no one. Actually, here should be one. Oh, there's this one, the U line. I think that's actually also private line. And Shimbundang line is also private line actually. But that's the thing, it doesn't matter actually. Because what we as a user, we use the same card. Of course, the fares might be a little bit different. You have to pay 200 more, but that's also one of the advantages of the Seoul system. It keep it all under the same control and the same management. So it can be owned by the government, can be owned by private companies, can be owned by anyone. As you access to the same T-money card or the credit card, and use it, transfer between the lines without any problems.
Nikola, I think you've got a question.
Yeah.
Oh, they answered that question too.
Yeah, Korean, we've got a few interpreters here.
아까 그 지하철에서 원 이면전을 한다고
네.
했잖아요. 그 GTX가 경기도에서 구상하고 있는 서브웨이입니다.
네.
빠르게.
네.
이게 아직 뭐 확실히 결정은 안 된 것 같은데 그러면 롱텀으로 봐서 그건 뭐 꼭 필요하다고 생각되는 소리입니까?
아, 그 GTX. Oh.
I think he was asking more about the GTX line,
Mhm.
and you see it having more potential in the future.
I will actually go to the GTX line. I have a whole slide on the GTX later. I will focus on it later. It will come up. But it's like this answer to this one dimension. Yes. Okay, Ray.
Can you go back to the slide where you showed population of Seoul? Population chart. Yeah, this one. So we know that they created the new towns to kind of make the population in Seoul decline. But the current status now being 2016, it's a little bit past where your chart ends. Do we know the city planning of Seoul? Do they want to keep it kind of where it is now, or is Seoul planning to kind of bring their population up? Do we know that? Because we can see that it's dipping because of the new towns, but what does Seoul want to do? Do they want to keep it kind of between 10 and 11 million, or are they looking to plan more? What does Seoul City want?
It's going down.
Yeah, it's going down, and actually, somebody's at the door. Oh, okay. Sorry. It's going down, and it's difficult to say. Let's say the Korean government wants that it goes down. I don't know about Seoul actually. Like the Korean government, they moved to Sejong City and they moved all like this things out of the city in order to a little bit diffuse this kind of very packed situation of Seoul. We have congestion and if so many people just here, to place them somewhere else, like also some institutes or like went to Wonju or a KT transport organization. They all went to different places, so it's a bit to diffuse this kind of, not only in terms of population, but also because of importance. The whole Seoul is so important, or like it's almost too important. So a little bit to have like more regional balanced growth. That's why we have a lot of institutes, everything, and organizations, government going out, and also actually the people should also move with them. So yeah.
On that note, now you're saying they're trying to get the population sold down a little, but that's within the actual official city limit, correct? What about Seoul plus the satellite cities, the bedroom communities, your Songnam or Incheon?
I mean, a city lives from the population. Nobody wants to say get out. Nobody wants to cut the population by half because it also means taxes and everything. But that's why I say the Korean government wants to have people out of Seoul, but Seoul, I'm not sure about it. And satellite cities are difficult to call them satellite cities, but also I do it. Songnam, Incheon, they built Songdo to get more people in. Songnam, they built Pangyo, they built Pangyo to have more industries in. Ilsan, they built Paju, they built this book city to get more attractions, more people. So I think actually the satellite cities, they want more, but they want to keep them level.
Could I add something to that? Seoul Statistics just released a report recently. In the next 20 years, they expect the population to fall by almost 500,000. And most of that will be because of the declining birth rate and younger people escaping the city.
Yeah.
So it's not that the government's going to want to chase people away. A lot of us are just going to leave on our own, probably.
Yeah.
That's serious stuff.
So I think we'll have one more question, and then Dan has one question, and then we'll take that break. So.
Yeah.
What kind of long-range planning and urban planning does the government officially do? What kind of do they have
That's
a
coming
10-year
next.
plan or
That's
20-year
coming next part. Sorry. Introduce next time. Yes, and then Dan has the question.
Yeah, I mean, so far this presentation has been awesome. So thank you very much, Nikola, for putting together such great detailed information. And I don't know if this is a question that you can necessarily answer, but as many of us in the room are real estate investors, I'm assuming that a subway line doesn't get built overnight. There's probably several phases that are involved in planning it out, and I'm guessing there's probably some politics involved in terms of where stations end up being placed. I'm wondering if you have any insight into when the prices start to get, when the price of the real estate starts to get affected by these future plans, like at what phase of the development, if you have any thoughts on what phase of the development the real estate prices will start to go up, as well as what sort of politics are involved in actually landing a stop.
Oh, it's a very tough one, actually. I don't have never saw any data on this, just from my personal experience in living also in like this kind of Shindoshi of Kwangyo in Suwon, and then also like traveling to Songdo or some other places. For example, like what was asked before, the GTX line. Songdo is already now advertising the GTX and saying you will reach the CBD of Seoul within 30 minutes. But there's even no plan, there's no even yet a political decision to build this GTX line. They're already advertising it. And in Kwangyo, where I lived, there was so much advertising about the Shimbundang extension that will, make it possible to reach Gangnam within 30 minutes. So I think even sometimes the slightest, not even planned, slightest, intention by the government to think about a new line or new, subway extension, then real estate companies pick it up and try to advertise it, try to use it, for their property.
Drive up prices, yeah.
Yeah, to drive the place.
Okay, great. Thank you.
But also next part I will show a little bit more about this kind of new lines and the new next 10-year plan for Seoul. So there you will also see the new lines and these things.
Okay, awesome. So let's take a 5-minute break. So if you guys come back at 3:05, then we'll get started again. But again, please feel free to talk to each other, ask questions, and then just come back by 3:05 if possible.
Interesting location. Is on a direct line to downtown. It's an interesting place on the line. It's one of the most interesting extension is the line 8 extension. Up to Korea. Now they're not going to Misa. Misa's line 5. They can't go beyond this. There's actually mountains in the way. But Korea is already linked. Straight down the street, it's already linked, down the Muxin. It goes right to the CBD, but it's not connected to Gangnam. However, in that line 8 extension, that's going to be a direct, like we're talking 5 stops. There's going to be Amsa, New Old Town, whatever, that weird development up there. They'll probably call it like prehistoric town or something. And then maybe one stop and then Korea. Like it's literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stops from the CBD will be Jungshil and Mukbang, which is absurdly close to a place where the houses and apartments are significantly larger, and the parks are significantly larger. And Acha-san actually blocks a large proportion of the pollution. The only disadvantage of there is that it's everything self-pumps up, freezes. There's a line on the Han River, roughly it's about 2 kilometers north of the tornado, and to the ice ends. It's the most interesting place.
Oh, you're doing really well right now. That one slide was
Sometimes
I missed a couple of things, but you're doing well. That one slide, the one section of the slides about like the incorporation of new music. That's something I messed up on that in my lecture. Matt told me later. Like, something I didn't realize was like, yeah, by 1963 was it? The city had the exact same boundary as now, and then they started like segmenting off like rather than extending the city out.
actually, what do you mean? You mean this one? You mean this one?
Yeah, that transition. I messed up on that when I lectured that.
But during that transition, I think Seoul lost 5 square kilometers.
I say that again?
They gave Songnam 5 square kilometers.
Square? Oh, so Songnam took some of Seoul.
Yeah. Because I remember, like, somewhere was 600. So it was 606 square kilometers. Oh. It was 601 or something.
55 square kilometers in reality between Seoul and Songnam, I think, and Songnam side of the border. That's just
yeah, it's just like, are you talking about like good land, or are we talking about like a bit of craggy mountains?
They were trying to round the number up to 600 and then they kind of messed up that one. For the record, there's nothing interesting to us right here. So she just raised the ground and lots of things. Something else.
Yeah. Well, I still gotta get there to see that apartment complex.
That's all. That's what we covered. So.
Yeah. Well,
there's Bobby's old homes. They're very nice. They're very green. Up by Sungil the end of line 5 on the northern square. They're very nice. They're like 3 stories high, giant half-ice trees, outline, lots of green space around them. And it's quite kind of shady. It's made them cool down soon. Turn into months. I think it's in London, I think keeping that level of intensity is much nicer. As tall as possible. Land developers always want to go as tall as possible. As much space as possible. Lifestyle tends to take it back. What would be interesting is when they expand the line at the moment, the last subway trains are heavily weighted in favour of the marshals. It's like I said before, the Southern Fork at the moment is the primary fork of the city. After a certain time of night, when all the workers down in the CBD go on, the every third train goes to Sunday, 2 out of 3 go to lunch. And then some of the other people off to 7 nights a week. But patrol in the end, they keep them out just because they can't go any further short of tunneling to way to Sunday. Whereas the northern state, they're and I get the feeling that once they understand, they're going to be forced to make that and increase services and decrease services which makes them think they might be True. Line 9, but line 9 is not really
Just like I have to expect them to rewrite the notes. If he does because the guy who went to the section is like he's one of those diplomat ones. So I actually 5 dogs. And like I don't really care about who, you know, he tends to analyze articles and make because it's good like exactly. Well, he emphasized to have mistakes. When they come to Nigel or whatever, like the but he's like really good at adding more like the other sections, like if I write the game, and they like, I like the game. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I get worried about I decided I gotta get to be honest, I've heard stories that I don't either. I'm really curious about this. I don't know what it was. Like I didn't explain at the time.
have four-story stations.
Yeah, I mean, that's been oh yeah.
So
Oh yeah. You can very It needs it, yeah. I haven't heard
As far as what it feels like,
I talked with their
Alright guys, I'm sorry to interrupt all your conversations. Man, it's great to hear all these conversations and chatter going. Like I said, we will have time later to meet up, maybe in smaller groups, so we can go get coffee and talk more. But one of the advantages of meeting in groups like this with all fairly like-minded individuals, you get to learn a lot from each other. So please keep talking to each other. But we do need to get back to our presentation. So, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right.
Almost ready. Okay, so now we'll look into the future because we talked about what happened until now, and now with up to next 10, 15 years, how Seoul wants to develop, how they want to build the city. So the big plan, the big master plan for Seoul is called 2030 Seoul Plan. It's currently in development, maybe will be released in the next year, next couple of years, and then it's going to be in effect from 2020 up to maybe 2030, because the name is 2030, but maybe even up to some years after that. And this plan, like, there's some preparation and some documents will be available for this plan. And here that says that Seoul went through a period of growth, up to a period of in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, through a period of redevelopment. It's like Checkerbout in Korean from the 90s, 20s, until now. And actually now they call it regeneration. So now we go into like this Jaesang. It's, I would rather like to translate into like some kind of reviving or revival of, to revive Seoul. And it's going to be like a completely new paradigm of urban development. The plan also has this very unique and special feature that from every city in the world actually usually has one main center, like we call it in bigger cities CBD. And we also have this here, Jongno here, this is CBD, that's the main center. In the new plan, there will be actually 3 main centers. The CBD will be over here, and Gangnam and Yeouido will have like similar importance, similar kind of also functions, and similar power in regard of this urban hierarchy. Then we have regional centers, Jamshil, Yongsan, some other areas up to north, and then the lowest part of this local centers, 12 local centers, they're also going to be between the regional centers and between the main centers. Songsu, for example. So these are like the main focal points of where urban development, where Seoul is going to try to implement anything new. But yeah, how it's going to look like. Now, Seoul is a very public transport-oriented city. Public transport system is great, but actually, in my opinion, public transport doesn't end at the subway station, doesn't end at the bus stop. A good service or like good environment should have very good setting for the whole walk up to the station or up to where you want to go, from your house to the destination. And that Seoul wants to improve and to become a human city by focusing more on walking and cycling, and also having like this here down. It shows the public bike system that was just implemented in October 2015. Began now here in 5 areas. Within 2 years, it's going to expand to close by areas, and then until 2020, it will cover all of Seoul. So we have everywhere public bike stations, and it's really amazing. Then there's this shift from growth to development, to quality of living, to well-being. So also this means to take out the cars sometimes and to build up pedestrian zones, have more areas where people can enjoy being outside or being in a certain area without being hassled by cars, by anything. So in Sinchon, the Yonsero was already transformed to a transit mall. It's like a road where only buses are allowed to operate. And that's just a transition, just a like medium step up to only pedestrian zone. By first you move cars, and then later you move the buses. So people can walk, you can have street vendors, you can have much more activities outside. And also it will for areas. So far, Seoul designates 10 areas, as far as I know. Hongdae is one of these areas. Insadong and I don't know, many other places are going to be transformed into this kind of pedestrian zones. Have to be more friendly towards pedestrians. And then that's this JSENG, this urban regeneration, is best presented by the Seoul Station 7017 project and by Seon Sangha. That's, instead of redevelopment, instead of removing something and build something new, they say, look, we have this structure, let's use it in a better way. Let's keep it and then let's just improve it and make a real nice, beautiful public space in it that's comparable to the High Line or anything else, or anything other famous worldwide project in the world. Or the Seon Sangha, maybe I have to move them a little bit. So, yep, that's the Seon Sangha. It's when you go up to east here, is this to Jongro. You have this. It was the 70s symbol of modern Korea. This kind of 5 huge shopping arcades. There were huge controversy about we should remove them. They're not anymore modern these days. Now we need different structures. It was planned to remove it and again a green park in this area because you can't build anything else actually on this very small and linear area. But now, because of this new paradigm, already like the Mayor Park Monsoon introduced, they say, oh no, we keep the structure again, we improve it, we revitalize it, we build some communities there. And then, of course, there will be some structural improvements. They will build pedestrian bridges, but that's basically all. It's not like rebuilding everything. Oh, yes. Okay. Then there was a question before, about is there anything new planned, new subway lines, and how do we decide where we build this kind of new subway lines? And here Seoul put a very easy criteria. They said every Seoul citizen should have a subway within 10 minutes distance, walking distance. And that's really amazing, Usually you would say, okay, in order to build a subway line, we need a catchment area of 800 meters, and within this 800 meters, there should be, let's say 100,000, 80,000 people with a density of blah, 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 and so on and so on. But instead of putting complicated criteria, they just say 10 minutes walking distance. And how do you show this? You just put for example, 10 minutes walking is how much? It's 800 meters. So you put an 800-meter buffer around all subway stations. And here you see gaps, here gaps, here's a huge gap, down South Gangnam here, Yonggunpo, Seoul, SNU, there are gaps. So they say, okay, we have to fill these gaps. It has to look like this. That's a future plan. That's a future idea, how it should be, and then it translates into these 10, or actually, it's 9 lines, 9 completely new subway lines, plus 1 extension. The line number 9, it was planned to have it built in 3 phases, so the main line and 2 extensions. 1 extension opened up, but then now they said, okay, let's put in one more extension as a 4th phase, or it's just 4 number, step 4. The first one that I'm going to open is the Dongbukson, is here in the northern part. This one is going to open in 2018. The Shirimson is also in construction, as far as I know. It's here, and then what's the next one? Myeonmokson is then also going to. Oh wait, where's Myeonmokson? Is this one also going to be open? So these are very interesting developments, and the other 7 ones are then going to open until 2021. And here now the GTX, the Gyeonggi Train Express. It's these days it's very easy to get from anywhere outside of Seoul to Seoul. So for example, from Suwon to Gangnam, now it's no problem anymore. From Ilsan to the CBD to here, it's very easy. But actually, if I want to travel from Suwon to Ilsan, it's a huge hassle. I have to go through Seoul, or I have to take a bus to go somewhere else, and it takes me ages. But this GTX, it's the solution to this problem by not so much by connecting Seoul. It's more about connecting the satellite cities around Seoul with each other, and of course, you pass through Seoul. And so we said, okay, let's have some stops here. Actually, it's more about connecting, for example, Ilsan with Bundang, Pangyo, and then up down to Dongtan. That's this new dimension that I was talking about. Like, it's a high-speed train. It will take you 30 minutes from Dongtan to Susu, which is like usually really far, and then it will take you like, I don't know how much, but it won't take you even long up to Ilsan once it's completed. But yes, that's the problem. Once it's completed, here is a Korean news article, and this is a cost-benefit ratio of this project. This is like usually the most important criteria. The cost-benefit ratio of this red line is 1.33, so there are more benefits than costs. It's okay, but the other ones actually are not very cost-beneficial there. In terms of like how Korea does their evaluations. So it's very difficult to say, are we ever going to see a GTX line going from Songdo up to Jongnam-ri or somewhere else? Even they wanted to change this line to go here to Jamshil, but the Korean government said no, will be going through here, but they don't know when they're going to, if they're going to ever construct it at all. What we are going to see is the first GTX line A, but also just the first part from Dongtan to Suso is going to open in 2021. And then there's also like a very high chance to see very fast extension up to Kojects, together with this new Hyundai skyscraper, and maybe then have also an extension. Also, not really sure when we're going to have this full line A. So this is the same map as I showed you before about this new 3 centers of Seoul, and here it's translated like how it's going to work, how it's going to be like supported by transportation and by this hierarchy. So line number 9 plays a very important role by connecting Yeouido to Gangnam, then even extending now to Jamshil, and then to Jamshil Undongjang, like the sports complex, and also leading then around Songpan-gu. The GTX is actually going to be very important also here, to have this, also it's here, but to extend or to connect Suso and like the southern area, to then Gangnam up to the CBD. And then also what I didn't mention yet, Seoul has now one main train station, like intercity train station, that's Seoul Station, where you have KTX and trains, but we will soon have the Suso KTX station, like here, or it's not called KTX, but high-speed rail station. It's the SRX. Here, currently there's a new train station in construction. It's going to open this year, and the whole line is going to open this year. And that's very amazing. Like until now, to take the KTX, to take a high-speed train down to Busan, you always had to travel to Gangbuk, going to Seoul Station. From now, especially for people who live in Gangnam, they benefit from this new Suso station. You can easily get to Suso and save time. Also, this train from here to Busan is a little bit faster than the train from Seoul Station to Busan, about just a couple of minutes. And here, actually, if you visit Suzhou, currently there's a lot of development going on, a lot of still like agricultural land that's now going to be developed or like transformed into estate and housing and other things. So that's something really promising and a good area. And then, what else do we have here? It's the Airport Express goes now from Incheon Gimpo up to the CBD. But actually, with Pyeongchang Olympics, they want to have like more direct connections. The athletes and anybody who comes to visit can get off Incheon Airport, take a train, and go up there by transferring to KTX, and then easily reach Gangwon-do. So it's also something very interesting, and maybe in the future we'll see more development in this field, and also by more development in the northeastern side of Seoul. So far, there was the presentation, and then to conclude. So the title of this presentation was, so where should you invest in Korea? I never really answered this question because it's very difficult, and most importantly, I wanted to show you like the history. I want to show you like housing, the business places, and how how offices where they are located. I want to show you like where the new lines open up, where development is going to be focused by where Seoul wants to focus it. And now it's up to you to connect all these dots and connect it somehow for you, benefits for you, ideas with your mind and with your knowledge about your neighborhoods, and to see where you can invest and what kind of Gangbuk or Gangnam do you want to invest in housing, do you want to invest in office spaces, and so on. That's now up to you. Okay, thank you very much, and if you have any questions.
Questions?
I've got one about the GTX. Looking at the map, all of those lines, they extend fairly deep across the city. Like, line B goes not just to Yongsan and Seoul Station, but then to Cheongnam, which, unless it's using existing tracks, I imagine would be more expensive. So why did they make it go all that way?
Oh, it's really expensive. Like, you have to imagine, you want a high quality express train service, and has to be, through the city, has to be underground, and you have already so many stations, so many lines going underground, you have to build even deeper. This GTX will be really, really deep. It's going to be unbelievably expensive, and maybe, so you're wondering why they go to Cheongnam?
Yeah. Like, what's the benefit, considering how much it's going to cost?
Yeah. It's a tiny walk out there.
Like, why not just, go to Yongsan and then take line 1 up to Cheongnam? So it does.
I would say also a little bit to gain more political support. If you just go to the main places that are already like well equipped with subways and services, then people wouldn't want this kind of, wouldn't support this project so much. But by catching, going to Bupyeong, going to Cheongnam areas, mostly like was really like included into public transport, and to have like also to justify connecting more people to it. So also maybe political support, connecting more people as much as possible. But yes, that's the thing. Like, it doesn't really 0.33 is really low. Yeah.
Do you have any idea why Cheongnam? Like, I mean, Wangshini seems the obvious choice. Cheongnam is like a time warp.
I mean, maybe if you look at the complete network, we have line number C, that line number B wouldn't otherwise connect to line number C. Something like that. I'm not sure. I'm not sure. Other questions? Yes.
Can you tell any other city in the world similar to Seoul? Try to benchmark to find out which place is the best place to invest. Can you tell me similar city work like Tokyo? I am just
Yes.
I just wonder that every big city has their own character. So can you compare any similar city compared to Seoul?
Oh, it's really difficult. But actually, it's more like the question to what kind of city Seoul wants to be compared to. Seoul wants to be compared to New York. Seoul, actually, maybe to Tokyo, but even Seoul wants to be better than Tokyo. Or Seoul wants to be like New York, wants to be like one of the, like Paris. Actually, Seoul is these days looking a lot at Paris. I think also Paris is a good, maybe even good example, like because France in total, they have like this very like high priority or like strong focus on Paris as the capital, as the center of everything, of the culture, of the economy. This the same actually in Korea, and I'm not sure like how many. Does somebody know how many people live in Paris? Is it 10 million? Is it more? Anyway, so I think from this maybe it would be very like we could maybe benchmark Paris to Seoul.
One of the reasons why I'm asking this
Yes.
question is GTX is somewhat controversial.
Yes.
Depending on people, like to prevent the centralization. So there are cons idea and pros to make the better transportation, like multi-dimensional. But I'm not sure which one is correct. So I'm pro to the GTX. I think Songdo is very good city, so we need some basic transportation. So I think the Songdo could be a best another candidate. That's my kind of.
Okay. Yes.
So if there is any other city which use the similar GTX.
Yes, that's Paris. Paris, they have like this ERE system. It's like this regional express rail. They have such a service. It's not like really high speed, but it's a relatively fast commuter rail that connects the region and connects also the capital of the region. So that will be Paris now. Yes, Ray.
Let me ask you an easy question. If you had as much money as you could ask for, and you could buy an office tower anywhere, where would you buy an office tower?
Why would I buy an office tower?
Yeah, where would you buy an office tower?
Why would I buy an office tower? If I have all the money in the world, I would buy.
You want to make more money.
I would buy Seoul and rename it. No, it's not an easy question. It's a very tough one. And
one office. So,
an office tower. An office tower.
Yeah.
I'm like I said in my introduction, I'm a geographer by background. I care a lot about locations, where it is. So I would probably go somewhere to Yongsan, like central. It's actually, CBD is not really central. It's like a little bit the northern part of Seoul, and Gangnam is like south, and Gyeongdo is up there, like side there. But the geographic center is more or less Yongsan, and so I would, even though there were so many failed projects up there, I think in the future they will at least build Yongsan Park. Maybe they will soon find a solution or some kind of alternative to the Yongsan Dream Hub. And then I would probably Yongsan would be a nice area, I think.
Actually, I've got two interesting facts for you, and I'm kind of curious to hear your thought on the last one.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, the population of Paris is much lower. It's 2.24 million.
Oh, okay.
Secondly, in Yongsan, not the Dream Hub, but the section where the Yongsan disaster happened,
Mm.
they've only recently put up a fence, and so they might be starting construction there or something. I'm guessing more office towns. So probably a good place to buy office towns.
Okay, then. If I have money.
Wait, where was that? I missed that.
The Yongsan disaster location. You remember what the fire in 2009?
Yongsan
Yeah. They're finally they put up a fence, and it looks like there's construction activity there.
Okay.
I don't know what's happening there, but my guess is as I said, more office towns.
Okay. Cool.
Mm.
Yeah, Any other questions? Otherwise, we do need to move on to our next stage of our meeting. Again.